Hello everybody, Sparkster1701 here, and to conclude our month, we've been looking at mailaways. We looked at the Omnibots earlier in the month. Now we're going to take a look at the last of the mailaway exclusives, the Powerdashers. Now, while these guys have been retconned to be given names and made into individual characters, in ways with the way they were released in the G1 era, these guys were basically, along with the mini-spies, the only generic troopers that we got in the Transformers line, when you think about it. We have the Powerdasher car, Powerdasher drill, and the Powerdasher jet. Of course, these guys are holdovers from the Microman toy line that Takara released in Japan, which also brought us many of the great Transformers like Ironhide and Optimus Prime. And you can see the holdover in their chests. Right about where each one of them has their Autobot insignia, you can see is a little cockpit that would have been large enough for a little tiny man to be placed inside. So, that makes them basic holdovers from that toy line. Of course, the little men would be removed when they were sold here as a mail-away for the Transformer line. So let's take a look at them individually. We'll start with the car Powerdasher. The bright red color probably made him one of the more attractive units to get. As far as articulation goes, he's got a fair amount of it. You can raise his arm at the shoulder all the way up. He does have a joint at his wrist, but it really doesn't do much good for him. And he does have a joint at his hips that does allow him to bend forward like so. And he does have some articulation at the ankle, but it's not really usable for much of anything. To transform him, we would basically fold his arms, fold in his hands against his arms. Then you bring the arms up and snap them together above the head. Then down here at his legs, we would fold up the legs at the hip and then adjust the feet so they point downward. Now, of course, this is a 30-year-old toy, so his legs do tend to droop very easily. See, just like that. But here he is in car mode. The Powerdashers also featured a pullback motor. He rolls pretty good on his, despite the fact that the leg fell down in mid-route. So he pretty much ended up dragging himself. Moving right along, we have what's known as the least popular of the figures. That's the Powerdasher drill. Probably just due to the fact that it looked the least appealing. Although we would eventually get another drill tank released for the Transformers in the form of Nose Cone, the Technobot. But before we dismiss him too much, I'd like to state that in his defense, the Powerdasher drill does have the most articulation of any of the Powerdashers. And we can raise his arm at the shoulder, about so far, and he does have a joint at his elbows. So you can raise his arm up all the way. He has a joint at his hip that allows you to bring his hip up, bend his leg up at about 90 degrees. And he does have a joint at the knee, so you can bend him at the knee about 90 degrees. So all in all, he is the most posable of all the Powerdashers. Now, of course, to transform him, first thing we do is we push his head in, like so. Bend his arms at the elbows, like so, and then we will fold the arms up and over, like that. Then we raise his legs up at the hip, like so, and then bend them at the knees. And then there he is. He is a drill tank. Not quite as imposing as, say, the GoBot Screwhead or even Nosecone himself. And heck, even the drill tank used by the Arkham Knight in that Batman video game considerably looked more intimidating than this thing does. But, oh well, you can't have it all. And again, he has a pullback motor. And he rolls pretty good, too. And next up we have what is probably the most popular of the Powerdashers. It's the Powerdasher Jet. And of course, we say that due to the fact that apparently, according to reports, this one was the one that was given out the most. Whether that's true or not, I'm not sure. But this one was featured a little bit more prominently on the mail-away packing, on the promotional slips, so that's probably what led to some of it. That and the fact that having a jet alternate mode meant that the Autobots gained another flying character, which they were in very dire need of in 1985. For articulation, though, he's got the least, since we can rotate the arm up all the way like so, and you can have him do a full splits at his hip. And that's pretty much it, folks. So, of course, this one's also the most popular and hard to find on the secondary market due to the fact that he has the most chrome, given the fact that his arms are totally chromed. And as you can see, there is some chrome wear on mine. It may not be showing up too well on the camera, but this one is one from my childhood. The other two here were bought during adult collecting years, but this one was the one I had growing up. My folks gave me him, and my brother ended up with the other Omnibot. I don't know which one of us got screwed on that deal. Anyway, to transform him, simply fold the arms up over his head and snap them into place. You'll move his legs like so to do a full splits, and then you'll fold them inward again at the knees to form the wings. And there you have him in jet mode, which I don't see it, folks. I don't see a jet in here, folks, to be honest with you. As for swooshing, well, it's not bad. Of course, I wouldn't want to hold him by the wing for that too long, since these wings are very, very thin. But like the others, he has a pullback motor. And as you saw there, he really goes. He really goes across the floor. And of course, each and every one of them came with an instruction manual specific for them. And apparently they say that the Powerdasher car has extending legs. Ah, yes he does. So then, That's how he should look as a robot. Note to self, start reading instructions. Alright, back to how he transforms. And then instead of giving you the cheap bit of how to show, instead of telling him reverse the instructions to change back, they give you a set of instructions to transform him into the robot. And then they give this little tech spec bio here at the end. The Powerdasher's function is apparently multi-function specialist. Although the More Than Meets the Eye guidebook suggests their function is reinforcement. This Powerdasher is a new form of Autobot. Power is still growing, fast and skillful. Little is known about its true strengths and weaknesses. Came to Earth to help the Autobots in their cause. Ability to take on a variety of shapes and forms. Has ability to operate at various levels of kinetic energy. Friendly, cheerful, and obedient. If they say so. Next up we have the drill. So you can see how the drill's instructions looked. And then, of course, he has the exact same bio at the back, so we won't read it again. I don't need to torture you on that. And then, of course, lastly, we have the airplane. And again, we have the same bio. Like I said, folks, I don't believe in torturing you. But we will bore you a little bit with the fact that I do have the Canadian version for the jet, which will be of interest to any of you who can read the French portion of it. And of course, the tech spec page is also in English and French. So, now you've seen something new. Now we get down to my thoughts about the Powerdashers. What do I think of them? The Powerdashers were a nice addition to the Transformer line when they came out, as they were a potential promise to be similar like what Hasbro was offering to G.I. Joe collectors. These guys could only be gotten in the mail, just like a handful of the characters Hasbro was peddling for G.I. Joe. You could only get them through the mail, and that made them special, as not every kid in the neighborhood was going to have them at the same time, unlike those that could go out and buy them in the store, or beg their parents to go out and buy them. So this was a sign of things to come. In fact, everything this month was a sign of hopeful things to come. Unfortunately, after the next year, when we got Reflector, things kind of went downhill from there. So don't get me wrong, Reflector was a great toy, but he was the last new toy that was offered to the Transformer fans. After that, we were pretty much offered old guys that were excess stock, and that was it. By 1988, the program was pretty much coming to an end, and while they still printed robot points, we weren't being offered anything. So the Powerdashers were a nice option at the time. Do they hold up well today? Not really. The lack of any real detail about them would make them pretty boring in the eyes of many of the collectors. Unfortunately, Hasbro has brought them back into the market with the recent Siege toys. The problem with how they brought them back is the fact that they are repaints of the 3 Battle Deluxe Weaponizers. So like the car Powerdasher is a repaint of Cog. The drill is a repaint of Brunt. And the jet is a repaint of 6 Gun. And these 2 guys are packaged with others and were sold as part of an exclusive on Amazon. This guy was sold separately as part of some of the 35th anniversary toys. So that kind of takes away the speciality of the gimmick for them, in my eyes at least, because I liked it for the original way they did them. I liked the original way the Deluxe Weaponizers were. They were guys that in the G1 era, unless you had the big city toys, you didn't have them. But to make the Powerdashers have the same ability kind of cheapens the gimmick, and it makes the Autobots a little overpowered. But anyway, as for these original Powerdashers, they were a nice way to bulk up your Autobot army. Especially if you had a hard time affording any of the major Autobot cars, or any of the other large Autobot toys that were being released in 1985. This was a great way to beef up your army at a relatively inexpensive cost. Granted, their robot modes are a little silly. Their vehicle modes also don't look the best. But they were extra cheap troops. And they were easy to obtain. So I would definitely put them in the middle tier, but they kind of hover near the top, since the pullback feature on them is pretty good on there, and as you saw, after 35 plus years, they do seem to roll pretty good. So they are toys that hold up pretty well on the secondary market, and is a nice inexpensive retro toy that you could let your kids play with today. And that concludes my review of the 1985 Autobot Powerdashers. I hope you enjoyed this review. If you liked the review, please drop me a thumbs up here on YouTube. If you're new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button down below to join our ranks. And ring the bell so you'll be notified when I post new content. Also, please share this video with your friends, and share your thoughts about the Powerdashers in the comments down below. This is Sparkster1701 saying I will catch you all later.